Hello and happy Sunday morning out there to all. Welcome in to our newest addition to the PHLY family, PHLY Bets, presented by our friends over at Bet365. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. And an NFL, an NFL season is upon us, and Bet365 is giving people $200 in bonus bets at sign up using code PHLY365. So take some free money, whether you make some futures bets, some parlay bets, have fun with it. There's a lot to get into with this NFL season. The Bet365 futures page is elite. It's tremendous, one of the biggest I've ever seen, and really has some fun stuff in there. So we're going to give you lots of information during this show. This show will be Sunday mornings during the NFL season and Wednesdays during the week to preview college football, NBA, NHL, all that other good stuff that's happening. But Sunday is all about the big boys, the NFL, and we're going to dive into every game on the slate today, take a look at some of the boosts on Bet365, and hopefully make some money and have some fun along the way. So to everybody checking out the show for the first time, I appreciate you. And let's just get right into it because it's a full slate. I can't wait for today's action. So a couple of trends I want to give you for the year, just kind of to plant in your head, whether you're making a long shot futures bet, whether you're thinking about some player props, a couple things here to just keep in mind. So in terms of Super Bowl champions, that's a fun one to bet. I got a Bet365 boost a couple weeks ago where the Eagles were boosted to plus 1,600 up from plus 1,400. Well, they're down to plus 1,100 already on Bet365. The Chiefs are leading the way, plus 500. The 49ers, plus 550. The Ravens come in at plus 950. Eagles, plus 1,100. Bills, plus 1,200. Detroit Lions, plus 1,200. Cincinnati Bengals plus 1,200. I'm going to stop there at the plus 1,200 mark because of this fact. 10 of the last 11 Super Bowl champions have been listed at plus 1,200 or shorter to win the preseason. So that really only leaves those 7 with the Bengals. This year, the Chiefs, 49ers, Ravens, Lions, and the teams we just mentioned are all shorter than 12-1 odds. So if that trend continues, one of those teams will most likely take home the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year. So just something to keep in mind for your futures plays on the year. I'm very happy now with a plus 1,600 Eagles bet for a season-long champ, especially after it's dropped to plus 1,100 already. I guess Bet365 saw Saquon too and was like, whoa. All right, this guy's legit. All right, into week one specifically. It's tough. A lot of new faces around the league. You don't know, who went for it in training camp, who practiced every day, new coaching staffs, new systems in place. It's always a little scary sledding perhaps. But here's some things that might be able to help you out. Road underdogs in week one. Get this. Are 113 and 96 and 8 against the spread over the last 20 years. I will say that again. Road underdogs are 113, 96 and 8 against the spread over the past 20 years. If you split those road dogs by whether the team made the playoffs or not the year prior, you see a pretty drastic change. If they made the playoffs the year before, 23, 37 and 3 against the spread. If they missed the playoffs the year before, the record goes to 90, 59, and 5 against the spread. So teams to kind of keep an eye on there, like your Tennessees, Carolinas, Commanders, Jaguars, Broncos, Raiders, Patriots, Cardinals, Jets, like those ilk of teams that were really kind of trash last year, but are road dogs. So keep that in mind. Unders in week one over the last roughly 50 games or so. Week one unders, well, they're hitting at 65% of the time in that span. So keep that in mind. Week one unders, some sloppy play. We talked about new offenses in place, all that stuff. So 65% of the time, week one unders are hitting over the last 50 games or so. Primetime unders is another thing to keep in mind with Sunday night, Monday night. There was primetime all over the place this week. The Eagles went over, but primetime unders since 2019, primetime unders are hitting at 59.5% of the time by a 1.5 per game, including 79 and 48 in the past 2 seasons. So primetime unders, something to keep in mind a little bit. Just bury that one away in the back of your mind, and keep it on that frontal lobe as you're placing your bets on Bet365. So there's just some trends, some things to look about. Yes, JH, thank you. Confirmed Eagles Super Bowl, plus 1,100, only plus 1,200 or lower odd teams win the bowl. So pretty much. So the Eagles Super Bowl champion. I'm happy to break that news to you here on the Bet365 PHLY bets. All right, let's get into the slate today. And by the way, I opted in personally, and this is something I promise to never do to you, is pretend to be a handicapper, pretend to, tell you my track record is this or that. I am a gambler that watches as much football as one father of 2 young children can possibly watch. And I'm just going to give you my opinions. I'm certainly not going to be betting every game. I try to minimize my plays to basically 2 per slate. So I'll probably do 2 bets at the 1 o'clock hour, 2 bets at the 4 o'clock hour. And then depending on how that all goes is how I execute on my Sunday night and Monday night plays. So I'm never going to act like that douchey handicapper. I am just going to give you facts, information, hopefully some fun, and hopefully some winners along the way. So don't read it too much into me. The advice you get from me is what you paid for it, which is absolutely free. So don't grill my ass. When I lose, we'll lose together. When I win, we'll win together. That being said, I did opt into the Bet365 boost this morning. I logged right in and I got prompted, and it was basically bet $50 today. If it loses, you get $25 back in bonus bets. So that was a no-brainer. If you bet between $20 and $49.99, I think you get $20 back. So I'm going for the 50 play. But make sure when you log on to Bet365, there's tons of great boosts. We had one at PHLY on the Eagles game Friday night that got boosted from plus 450 to plus 550, and then it ended up being a winner. So the first one I made on behalf of PHLY hit, and that was a lot of fun to see come to fruition. But always check out their boost tabs up top. They usually do some fun stuff, and you can see where people are kind of betting and what's trending. For example, there's a boosted 4-leg parlay today that seems to be hot on the homepage. It's almost 4-1. You get plus 391. And this one is Bijan Robinson for 50 or more, James Cook for 50 or more, Jonathan Taylor for 50 or more, and Travis Etienne to record 50 yards or more. So a little bit of a fun running back parlay there. 50 yards, not that difficult to obtain. So that's kind of a fun one for a little 4-1 action. All right, let's just get into the slate of games. As game 1 today, we'll take a look at. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 3.5 at the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins' debut with the Falcons. Over-under on this one comes in at 42. And the Steelers, with Russell Wilson, 2 new quarterbacks in this game, come in at the money line on 165. Now, I'm going to give you the weather reports for all these games, but given that this one is played in a dome in Atlanta, I would predict the weather to be a nice, comfortable 75 degrees. No wind, no rain, so you don't have to worry about the weather there. But let's take a look at some of the trends on this game. The Steelers, they, under Mike Tomlin as an underdog, hit 63% of the time against the spread. Under Mike Tomlin, they are 59, 35, and 4 against the spread. So the Steelers are certainly a live dog team in the Tomlin era. He's 11 and 19 against the spread at home since 2020. This is Kirk Cousins, excuse me. We know about Kirk's primetime, disastrous performances. I think he's 3 for 10 against the spread on Monday Night Football. Well, at home, now previously in Minnesota, now in Atlanta. So I don't know if that kind of transfers over with him. but it's certainly something to keep in mind. He is 11-19 against the spread at home since 2020. He is the least profitable quarterback in terms of betting of the 99 quarterbacks during that span. He hasn't covered a game as a home favorite since 2022. Does that follow him to Atlanta? I don't have a strong feeling on this game, but I would that Mike Tomlin underdog thing, and I know Russell Wilson narrative that he stinks and the team's weird. Atlanta's kind of getting the little bit of the darling treatment in the media. No strong feeling on this one, but I would be tempted to sprinkle a little bit of the money on the plus 165 money line for the Steelers as a dog here. All right, next game on the slate, currently on Bet365. The Buffalo Bills as a home team are 6.5-point favorites, hosting the Arizona Cardinals and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray. Over-under on this one comes in at 46.5. And the Cardinals as the road dog, fortunate for the Cardinals that they get to go to Buffalo when the weather isn't absolutely dog bleep. The Cardinals are a plus 240 dog in Buffalo on this one. Taking a look at the weather report up in Buffalo, always an important one to keep an eye on. A little bit windy today. There's 18-mile-an-hour westerly winds, but it looks like it's going to be a cloudy, sunny day up there, about 56 degrees. So the only thing you really have to worry about with the wind there is, both of these quarterbacks have fairly strong arms, so Allen and Murray should be able to cut through the wind. Maybe some kicking a little bit. But not too much to worry about there. It is, let me see here, the highest wind around the NFL. So the highest winds today are up in Buffalo, but just keep that in mind a little bit. All right, Kyler Murray. He has had success in his career as an underdog. He is 25-15-2 against the spread as a dog and has been 500 against the spread or better as a underdog in each of his 6 seasons in the NFL. Since he's entered the NFL, he is the second most profitable quarterback against the spread as a dog, only trailing Jared Goff. So Kyler Murray has performed well as a dog. Under Kyler Murray, they are 11-5-2 against the spread over as a dog of over 4 points, and 7-3-2 against the spread as a dog of 6 or more points. So it's 6.5 here. Kyler Murray, people may be sleeping on the Cardinals because Murray wasn't there the majority of last year. The Bills, they have their new offense, Stephon Diggs list. They had some big losses on the defense. The Bills are prime as I don't know what this team's going to be. Josh Allen, obviously a very good quarterback. But again, I'm a little bit tempted by the dogs there with the Arizona Cardinals. All right, next game on the slate, the Houston Texans heading to Indianapolis. This should be a great AFC North battle here with C.J. Stroud going into Indy to face off against other draft pick from last year who missed time due to an injury, Anthony Richardson. Currently on Bet365, the Texans are a 3-point road favorite. Over-under on this one is 49. On the money line, the Houston Texans, you got to lay minus 160 to get them. Again, another dome game, so we don't have to worry about the weather there, which is nice. But this is one of the better 1:00 games on the weekend. So get this about the Houston Texans. And if you think they're getting too much hype and too much love as a true Super Bowl contender, well, you may be right, because the Texans come in with the 3rd largest jump in Super Bowl odds from year to year of all time. They were 200-1 last year to win the Super Bowl prior to the season. This year they come in at 16-1. The only 2 teams to beat them in terms of year-to-year jump on that, Dallas in 1990 jumped from 250-1 to 20-1, and the 1979 Redskins went from 300-1 to 8-1 the following year in 1980. So the Texans are in kind of rare air there in terms of team turnaround over the course of a year. Obviously, Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins and Tank Dell and C.J. Stroud and Joe Mixon, high-powered offense. They really kind of pushed their chips all in this offseason. So 7 teams have moved from 150 to 1 odds or longer to 20 or 1 in that year-to-year time period we just talked about. 3 have made the playoffs, 2 have won a playoff game, none have made the Super Bowl and finished the regular season 500 or better against the spread. So is it too much hype too quick? Some of the trends in gambling terms tell you, yeah, it probably is too much love going the Texans' way. It's hard to turn it around that quickly. All right, in terms of Week 1 divisional home dogs, which the Indianapolis Colts are, well, here you go. If you're a big home dogs are barking type of guy, home dogs are 22-7 against the spread in Week 1, dating back to 2010, including 9-2 against the spread since 2018 and 17-4 against the spread since 2012. So the home dogs are definitely barking. Divisional underdogs, which the Colts are here, are 71% of the time covering. They're 37-15-1 against the spread. In Week 1 since 2014, on average covering by 4.8 points, including some good return on investment. So again, a little bit of the dogs screaming at me here. I'm always a fan of the home dogs. So, Houston might get a lot of the public money there. So keep that in mind. All right, next game up, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Miami Dolphins. Now, the gambling advice I give you on early season Miami games is it's hot. I've been down there before for a late September game, I believe it was, and I was exhausted in the stands drinking beers. That sun comes down on you in a big way, and the Dolphins have the shaded sideline. It's one of the bigger, home field advantages in the NFL. You saw it with the not in terms of fans, but just in terms of physical heat wearing a team down. You saw it with the Eagles on Friday night. A little bit gassed there. The defense was getting a ton of reps. So keep in mind, it is Week 1, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to a hot environment down in Miami, and that's a real home field advantage for them. 18% chance of thunderstorms during this game, but it's going to be about 90 degrees. Now, you're probably saying, well, Jacksonville, trains in Florida, and they should be fine and accustomed to it. Well, yeah, but the sun really does beat down on that sideline a lot. So if Miami is conditioned a little bit better than the Jacksonville Jags, real advantage there for the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 3.5-point favorites. Over-under comes in at 49. Dolphins on the money line right now on Bet365 are minus 185. So I tell you that, it's hot in Miami. Wow. Great insight, Jamie. Thank you for that. Yes, you're welcome. Well, here's the numbers to back it up. When the game temperature is 80 degrees or higher, which it is today, the Dolphins are 48-42 straight up in the last 20 years, 29-14 straight up in that spot since 2016-17, and Tua is 15-3 straight up in that period, and Mike McDaniel as head coach is 9-1 straight up when the weather is over 80 degrees at home in Miami. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, who's quarterback in the Jaguars, obviously 8-17 straight up and 11-14 against the spread on the road. Not a tremendous road performer. In his career, Trevor Lawrence is 23-29 against the spread. He's 18-17 against the spread with Doug Peterson, which is improved from Darrell Bevell and Urban Meyer, where he was 5-12 against the spread. During that, the Dolphins are, since 2016, come in at 39-23-3 straight up at home. So kind of lean Dolphins here because of that weather situation. That's real. All right, next game, Minnesota Vikings, New York Giants. The New York Giants, a home dog. I don't like this home dog because Daniel Jones stinks. He's really quite bad. The Minnesota Vikings are minus 1.5. Over under on this one is 41. And the Vikings on the money line, which to me, the money line minus 125. If you're a novice gambler, that means you got to lay $125 to win $100. I would personally just like to, that's cheap enough to me, where anything won like 30 or lower, I just take the money line and eliminate the points. So if you're going to take the Vikings, maybe consider just going money line and not worrying about the points there. But Daniel Jones is not very He's not very good at all. Hard to bet a team like that. Now, their defense is much improved. They got Brian Burns. Their defensive line should be a problem. Malik Neighbors, obviously the first-round pick for the Giants. They're improved, but how can you bet the Giants with any sort of confidence at all? All right, so Brian Daboll in his career is 22-13-1 against the spread, which comes in at a 63% click, which actually isn't bad. They've lost a lot of games, but that doesn't mean they've lost against the spread in those games. It's the highest percentage amongst all head coaches over the last 20 years with a minimum of 10 games. He's had 4 different quarterbacks start a game for the Giants, and all 4 are 500 or better against the spread at home. So Sam Darnold quarterbacking the Minnesota Vikings. Well, his career has been less than stellar as well. He's 22-33-1 against the spread in his NFL career. He's the 4th least profitable quarterback during that time since 2018, only trailing David Carr, Carson Wentz, and Matt Ryan. So Sam Darnold, not in great company in terms of covering spreads. That being said, I kind of like the Vikings a little bit here on the minus 125. All right, the next game. Oh, by the way, let me just give you the weather report in New York. 70 degrees, clear skies, a little bit of wind, 12 miles an hour. So not too much to worry about there. Next game on the docket is the New England Patriots at the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals, a big favorite on this one, an 8-point favorite. Over-under comes in at 41. And if you wanted to bet the Bengals money line, well, you're going to have to lay minus 425 to do that. Too rich for my blood. So we'll just stick to the lines on this one. Now, New England has a very good defense. Jamar Chase is one to keep an eye on leading up to this game. He did get his contract taken care of, but now he's listed as an illness on the injury report. So I would assume he plays, but there's a chance. I guess they gave him some wiggle room to get out of that one. T. Higgins is banged up. Joe Burrow's returning from injury. So keep your eye on Jamar Chase. This might be one you wait closer to 1 o'clock to bet just to get that Jamar Chase update. So if this game closes out at week 1 with a spread of 7 or more points, which it currently is, it will be the fewest week 1 games with spreads of 7 or more since 2010, when there was no games in 2010 with a spread higher than 7. This is the only one higher than 7 currently. The Patriots are the biggest underdogs. Underdogs of 6.5 points or more are 46-27 against the spread in week 1 since 2006. That's 18 seasons worth of data. And they're under 500 against the spread in just one of those 18 seasons. So the Patriots, pretty good as big dogs, probably because their defense always travels year to year and will be a pain in the ass. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here, trend-wise, Joe Burrow, a little bit of a slow starter. In his NFL career, Joe Burrow is 36-22-1 against the spread, which is almost just north of 62%. But Burrow struggles early in the season against the spread covering games, a little bit of a slow starter. He's 2-6 against the spread in his first 2 games of the year and 34-16-1 against the spread in game 3 or later of the year. So tremendous after week 3, first 3 weeks, a little bit of a struggle there. That 2-6 mark against the spread is tied with Kirk Cousins for the worst mark amongst the 59 quarterbacks since he was drafted. So something to keep in mind there. Big spread. I'm probably not going to touch that one, but it would make sense if the Patriots can keep that within the number of 8. It's the biggest spread on the weekend. All right, next one, Pittsburgh Steelers, Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are minus 3.5, over-unders at 42. Wait, did I already do that one, JP? No, I guess I didn't. That's weird. My notes are inverted here. So the Atlanta Falcons with Kirk Cousins versus Russell Wilson. The Falcons are minus 3.5, over-unders 42. You got to lay 200 to get the Atlanta Falcons, which I'm pretty sure we already talked about. I'm sorry. My notes are all crisscrossed here. Next game, Chicago Bears at hosting the Tennessee Titans. Caleb Williams era gets started in Chicago. 4-point favorites. Over under on this one on Bet365 is 44.5, and you got to lay 200 to get the Bears on that one. Let's take a look at the weather report out in Chicago. 68 degrees, clear skies, 9-mile-an-hour winds. Looks like we should have clear, good football weather in Chicago today for the Caleb Williams era to get underway. So speaking of Caleb Williams, there have been 27 number one picks of quarterbacks since the merger in 1970. How'd they fare in their first starts? Well, they're 4-22-1 straight up, 7-20 against the spread. David Carr in 2002 was actually your last straight up winner. So the odds and the trends say Caleb Williams not going to have a lot of success today, at least in terms of winning the game. He'll be the 6th rookie quarterback to start week 1 with a point spread of 3 or more since the merger with those quarterbacks. They are just 1-4 straight up against the spread in those games. Carson Wentz, actually, the only one to win said game. That includes Jameis Winston, Terry Bradshaw, Trevor Lawrence, and Mac Jones. So Titans, Will Levis, Caleb Williams, the Bears could be decent. I would probably just avoid this one overall. I don't know. Just doesn't seem like that fun. All right, the 4:00 slate, the Denver Broncos. By the way, I took a Bo Nix over on touchdown total this year, passing touchdowns, that is, a 14.5. So that is, to me, a fun bet because it's so low. So Bo Nix into Seattle. Tough first place to play. The Seahawks are 6-point favorites. Over under on this one, 41.5. Minus 270 on the money line there. And let's take a quick look at the Seattle weather. And let's see what we got cooking out in Seattle today. The weather in Seattle. I got to get my meteorologist hat on here. Where are you, Seattle? Where the hell are you? Why don't I see you? Oh, there we go. 74 degrees, a little bit of fog in the sky, 7 miles an hour wind, projected to be no issue there on that one. So don't have to worry about the weather in Seattle, but the Broncos are in town. Since the NFL merger in 1970, rookie quarterbacks that play on the road in week 1 are 8-19 straight up, 12-13-2 against the spread, losing those games by an average of 4.3 points. The rookie quarterback team averages about 18 points a game, and the last one to win straight up or against the spread came back in 2018 when Sam Darnold made his week 1 road game debut. Geno Smith is 10-15-1 against the spread as a favorite in his career, and 22-17-2 against the spread as a dog. Again, not a game I really feel like touching. But if I had to make a lean there, I'd probably go with the Broncos plus the 6 a little bit. Next 4:00 game, the Las Vegas Raiders are in the LA to take on the Chargers. Justin Herbert and the Chargers kind of get the coin flip spread here. -3, over under on that comes in at 40. Chargers -160 on the money line. Now, do I have to check LA weather? Because it's probably going to be perfect. Well, it's a hot one, actually. 93 degrees out in LA, expected at game time, 12-mile-an-hour winds, but sunny and clear in that weird stadium out there. So some trends in this game to pay attention to, because this is kind of a decent game. Jim Harbaugh is making his debut for the Chargers, obviously coached the 49ers before. He is 49-22-1 straight up in his NFL coaching career, 42-27-3 against the spread. 3 of his 4 seasons in San Fran, he was above 500 against the spread or better. So Jim Harbaugh has shown a proclivity to be a cover coach. He's 4-0 in season openers during his time. So does that transfer over to the Chargers? I mean, Gardner Minshew and the Raiders kind of stink. I'll be honest, I like the Chargers here, -3. Probably wouldn't touch the money line at -160. All right, here's one of the games of the weekend. The Dallas Cowboys heading to the Cleveland Browns for the 425. I would imagine that's the Fox game of the week with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Well, the Browns minus 2.5-point home favorites. Over under on this one, 41. And if you want to lay the money line for Cleveland, minus 135. Cowboys plus 150. Let's take a look at the weather expected at 425 today. A cool 68 degrees, partly cloudy, 13-mile-an-hour winds. So not too much to worry about there. Maybe the wind's a little bit of a factor. But let's get into Dak Prescott. He is 29-11 against the spread versus the NFC East in his career. Does very well against the Eagles. Does very well against the Commanders and the Giants. Against the rest of the league, when it comes to the spread, he is 36-43-2 against the spread versus all other divisions. Since he was drafted, Dak is the third least profitable quarterback in this spot, which includes 138 quarterbacks. He is just ahead of Brock Osweiler and Derek Carr. So Dak Prescott, while not playing the NFC East, is a gross against the spread quarterback to bet on. Dak and the Cowboys have lost 7 consecutive games against the spread when listed as an underdog dating back to 2021. Their last win came against Justin Herbert and the Chargers in 2021. The Browns, well, you might remember their defense from last year because it was the best in the NFL. By most standards, it was EPA per play on defense. They were the best. They were eye test, maybe the best. They were just nasty. Over the last decade, their minus 0.155 EPA per play mark on defense was the 4th best of any team and the best since the 2020 Rams and the 2019 Patriots. So if Cleveland travels, if the defense travels year to year here, I like taking the Cleveland Browns at the minus 2.5 at home. That Dak Prescott against all other divisions besides the NFC East really kind of swayed me. All right, couple more games here, and then we'll call it a day and hopefully go make some money. Bet365, we're coming for your money. The Washington Commanders, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers minus 3.5, over under 42.5 on the money line there, minus 200. The weather down in Tampa Bay, well, we might have some showers on this one. If you think showers are a big thing to dictate your bets, well, keep an eye on this one closer to kickoff. 425, numerous showers in the area. It's those warm showers, going to be 88 degrees, slight 8-mile-an-hour winds, but there you have it. Baker Mayfield and the Bucks, obviously, and Jaden Daniels, the LSU quarterback, who I'm fairly high on. Sucks he's in the NFC East, to be honest with you, because the Commanders might actually turn into a competent franchise. Maybe. Well, they're going to start their eighth different week 1 quarterback in the last 8 years. It set the record for most consecutive years with a different starting week 1 quarterback. Pretty ridiculous. If Jaden Daniels works out, that streak will break. But since he was drafted back in 2018, Baker Mayfield is the 3rd least profitable quarterback against the spread of 94 quarterbacks. He's 14-26-1 against the spread as a favorite since being drafted number 1 overall. Just 35% of the time. That is something real. I kind of like the Commanders again. I know I'm a little dog heavy today, but I would take the Commanders here plus 3.5 at Tampa Bay. All right, Sunday night football. This is a good one. So is the Monday night game. This is good stuff here. The New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers travel to Santa Clara, frankly. I'm going to call them the Santa Clara 49ers. The 49ers are a 4-point favorite. Over under on this one comes in at 43.5. If you want to take the Niners on the money line, got to lay minus 210 to get that one. It's going to be 75 degrees, partly cloudy, 12-mile-an-hour winds. Should be a nice California evening. So weather doesn't come into effect in this one much at all. But since 2000, the loser of the Super Bowl has had a tough time in week 1 hangover scenarios. The Super Bowl losers the year prior are 10-14 straight up and just 5-19 against the spread in that time period. This is the first time, this is rare air for the Jets, the first time since 2002 that they are the division favorites. So this is unfamiliar territory for them. Underdogs in week 1 Monday Night Football matchups since 1998. Well, the underdogs are 29-12-1 against the spread. Aaron Rodgers, he is 13-6 straight up, 11-8 against the spread in his career on Monday Night Football. He's won 10 straight Monday Night Football games straight up as a starter. The last loss was back in 2013 versus the Bears. I have a little bit of Rodgers hesitancy, because, he's getting up there in age and he's coming off a pretty major Achilles injury, but that dude can still sling it. Since the start of 2022, Rodgers has had the same pass success rate as Desmond Ridder. He's had the same number of interceptions in just 40 more attempts. His EPA play figure is surrounded by Ryan Tannehill and Baker Mayfield. So Aaron Rodgers hasn't, maybe been as good as some people think. So that is the Monday Night Football game. I don't want to bet the Jets there, and I don't want to bet the Niners. That might be a game on Monday night. I take my winnings from Sunday because we're going to win, right? Positive thinking, people. We're taking Bet365's money. That might be one where I wait for the game to kick off and hop in on Bet365 with some live action plays once you get a little bit more sense for the game and how it's going and playing out. So that is my thoughts on week 1 here. It went a little bit longer than I had hoped, but lots of good information out there. Hopefully we can translate some of this information into big money plays. I have my daughter's soccer game to get to, but those are some of the bets. Some of the other futures I took a Joe Burrow MVP future at plus 900. I took Anthony Richardson over 16.5 touchdowns. I took Jalen Hurts over 21.5 touchdowns passing on the year. So, have some fun with it. Always gamble responsibly. And of course, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, you can call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But Bet365 is great. It's a lot of fun. Gamble responsibly. Let's make some money. Make sure you're always checking out their parlay boosts. And hopefully we'll make some money and some friends along the way. But thanks for checking out the PHLY Bet Show. I am Jamie Lynch. We will be back on Wednesday with another edition of PHLY Bets. Let's make some money out there. And of course, don't forget, use code PHLY365 at sign up. You can get $200 in bonus bets right now after a $10 deposit and a lost $5 wager. So good luck to everyone out there. Thank you to my man, JP Zapata, for producing today's show, who says, yes, Jamie, you had already previously done the Steelers and Falcons. Ha, ha, ha. Well, it is Sunday morning, and I did drink bourbon last night. So apparently reading my own notes is quite difficult. But seriously, thank you, everybody, for checking in. Good luck out there, and let's take some of Bet365's money. Have a great weekend, everyone.